Hi, this is Brent Marks, and you're watching the Dirty Right Rear podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the Dirty Right Rear podcast brought to you by The Barn. And you got the Mox and Jeremy here, and we're joined online with a special guest via Zoom. We have Brent Marks. Brent, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, welcome to the show, Brent.
We'll be catching you this weekend at Tri-City Speedway, Saturday, May 10th, with the high limit sprints. And it's the 410 sprints only, 12,000 to win. Pit gate opens at 2, gates are at 5. Hot laps start at 6:30. Racing follows the hot laps. I got it all in there, right? Excited to have you back in town, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to get back to Tri-City. It was an awesome race last year. We came away with the win. Track was pretty tricky and technical, and it was just a lot of fun. So, I really enjoyed racing at Tri-City and looking forward to getting back there again and ultimately hoping for the same result. But really, I just, hope that we can get a really nice racetrack and something super racy like we had last year. And I think they'll do a good job at that. But that was a really fun race. One of my most favorite ones out of the whole entire year, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that was your first high limit win, right?
Yeah, it was actually.
Yeah.
We got that win and then followed up with a win at Grandview. And I forget where else, but yeah, we that was my first high limit win, so that was great to get that off my back. So yeah, like I said, it was a great racetrack. I'm just looking forward to getting back, getting back in the area and seeing the fans and everybody just come out and support Tri-City on tomorrow night and come see us all whip around that place.
Yeah, I know that's a very technical place up there at Tri-City, and that wall in turn 4, I know it about cost you a win last year, but
Yeah.
that wall will sneak out and get you. It gets a lot of guys.
I just remember last year, like the cushion got right up against the wall, and then there's a couple holes as well. So you're kind of like you're trying to be up against the wall in a grip, and but trying not to get stuck in the holes too much to where the car gets tight and shoves you in the wall. And I just got through one of the holes a little too hard and started to bounce there off of 4 and caught the wall some and actually broke the Jacob's ladder out of the car. So fortunately, we were in a position that we were just out there setting our own pace and didn't really have to worry about, maneuvering through a whole lot of traffic because, once you break those things out, it's pretty difficult to maneuver. So we did that at the right time, but just fortunately everything held together. Didn't get a flat tire or anything like that. It was just an honest, small mistake that I made, and yeah, almost cost me a race there.
Yeah, I remember Brad Sweet was not far behind you when that happened. So, one thing, I don't know how this
Yeah.
goes into your preparation for tomorrow night, but I don't know if you know Granite City or Tri City, they haven't had a night in. Everything's been rained out. So, this will be the first time any
Oh,
cars have been on the track this year.
yeah, I
So,
didn't know
how does
that.
that go in?
That seems to be the Yeah, it seems to be the trend this year for racing in general all over the country, man. It's just, even like I'm from Pennsylvania, so back home in Pennsylvania, the Outlaws are racing. They just got rained out again tonight, so it's like I think have 7 rainouts this year already. It's That just seems to be the trend for the whole country. It's difficult.
I know you're a small, and I believe you own your own car, right?
Yes.
So how do when you have 7 rainouts already on the season? How does that affect somebody like you who probably relies on your merchandise and your winnings to go up and down the road?
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard. It's makes it really difficult. You still obviously you still have bills to pay. You still have your payroll and getting from point A to point B and your travel costs, all the logistical parts of it. I mean, it's just it all adds up, and once you're getting rained out like that, you're obviously not getting anything coming in. And it's a struggle, but you always seem to get through it. There's so much racing in the summer, so you seem to always kind of make up for what you lost in the summertime, but it's still really hard. It doesn't make it any easier. But we all seem to just pull through it one way or another, but it would just be a heck of a lot easier if we didn't have to deal with that all the time. But this time of year is just tough. Honestly, you feel like you're just getting lucky to even get a race. And it seems like no matter where you go in the country, I've advocated for trying to like race down in the desert a little bit more. Sorry.
Yeah.
Uh, race down in the desert a little bit more, but then we were dealing with a bunch of wind, and
Right.
we got canceled because of wind, and it's just like it just seems to be nowhere safe right now. So just kind of push through this time of the year and get to the summer months, and seems to be a little easier for all of us to get some racing in.
Yeah. I know you're coming off a win at Texas here last weekend or last Thursday, I believe it was, and or was that 2 weeks ago? I can't remember. It's hard,
Yeah,
to
that was last week. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you're coming into Lakeside tonight and Tri-City tomorrow with some momentum behind your side or behind you finally for the year.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah. That was
win.
that was a great, that was a great win, and we ran pretty decent there on Saturday night at TMS as well. But just to really kind of start the year out how we have being pretty consistent. I think we really only had one bad run, but other than that, we've been really good, really consistent. Got a win already. So that's great. But it's just great for confidence and to build on that here coming into the summer. So that's just really important, and you just got to be on your game every night with these guys to contend for number one, a championship, but number two, to contend for wins every night. You just have to really be on your game. So I feel like we're doing a good job with that this year.
Yeah, I see you're third place in points, so you're right there. What's it going to take to climb a little higher? And I know Brad Sweet's tough to beat on the points battle. What's it going to take to
Uh,
to beat him?
He is, obviously number one is win races, but number two, got to be on the podium every night. If we're running fifth, sixth, or seventh place, those are still good runs, but that's not good enough. So they're just really good to always get themselves in a position to where they're either finish, if they're not winning, they're finishing second or third, fourth on a bad night. But so you got to get up there more in line with their performance, on a consistent basis. And, it's just something that we're working towards. But, I feel like the consistency is there for us. But like I said, if we're off a night, we're kind of in that fifth to seventh range. And that's just not going to cut it. So we have to work on that a little bit, get our average finish up a little bit more. And then just kind of hope that they have some bad nights, but that's also really, really difficult. You can't always hope and pray for that, so you have to kind of go out there and just do the best you can. And, like I said, we got to win races and start finishing on podiums more. And I think we're heading that direction. We just need to get a little bit better, build some more consistency behind us.
Does your strategy throughout the race season, I mean, we're pretty early into this and you've had some success so far, and I'd say to put yourself in a good spot. Does your strategy change throughout the course of the season?
No, I mean, I feel like we always have the same goals in mind. There's definitely quite a few tracks that I feel like we struggle at throughout the country. Some of the smaller bull rings in California. There's some places in Indiana we go to that just seem to be a little bit of a struggle for us, and those are kind of the nights that really hurt us in the points battle. So, we ran California at the beginning of the season, and felt like we came out of that pretty strong, actually, a lot stronger than I've had in years past. So, that's a great sign, that we were making improvements. But the later part of the year, we're going to be spending, all but a month there. So going to be doing a lot of racing. So we just have to make sure we're on our game there and kind of pull through that. If we pull through that and we run really well, I mean, honestly, I think we can be right there in the thick of it. Because I feel like where we're racing at here come summertime, we've kind of fits my style a little bit better, fits our program better. So we just got to pull through that. And those are really the areas that we really need to improve at in, is like the smaller bull rings, the rough racetracks. It's just it's something that I gotta be better at as a driver. You got to realize, I grew up in Pennsylvania, started racing in Pennsylvania. I mean, they're all they care about is smooth racetracks in PA. They'll get out there and put 600-700 laps on in a water truck on that track to make sure it's as smooth as possible. And so you don't really deal with rough racetracks out there. And then once you start to travel and you get to some other places and you kind of feel that a little bit, but it's nothing like when you get to the West Coast or, some of these other little bull rings, you kind of just bouncing around, cowboy up type stuff. And, it's just gets difficult. when you're a driver that's has the background of just dealing with smooth racetracks all the time. So that's something that we also need to improve, improve in. And whenever I was doing the true outlaw schedule, I've always avoided those racetracks. So, don't have a whole lot of experience there. So now we're kind of getting that experience again, just trying to find what works for us. And I think we're doing a good job at it. So we'll see here later in the year. But like I said, if we can pull through that, build consistency there, I don't see why we don't have a shot at being in the thick of it.
Yeah, for sure. Was it 2022? Was that, I know you had one year, you've always run a true outlaw schedule, but there was one season in particular that, man, you won a lot of races, a lot of big races. Was that 22 or 23?
That was 22. Yeah, we won a lot of races through 21 to 23. But as far as like the major crown jewel events, we won a lot of those in 22. So it seemed like anytime there was a big paying show, we were always there, showing up
Yeah.
and racing for the win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that had to be awesome. So
It
you
was.
started the high limit tour in 2024. What made you go high limit rather than the Outlaws?
Well, 2017 and 19, I spent some time on the Outlaw Tour. So I did that already. Then decided to just kind of step back and do the true outlaw thing, and that worked really well for me. And honestly, I had no intentions of ever going back to a series at all. I just didn't, But the idea came about with High Limit. Just talked to Brad a little bit. He reached out. I just really liked their idea, their vision. I like the fact that they didn't want to try to force 100 races on us a year, and
Right.
kind of gave us some freedom and all that. So, and also really like the whole charter idea. It's something new and something that I think is the future of sprint car racing, and I just wanted to be a part of it. Wanted to give it a shot, and so far I'm really really happy with it. I like the growth. I like where they're heading with it. So, I think next year, once the charter deal really starts, we're going to kind of get a true taste of what it's going to be like. And as long as they continue to grow and they can continue to be transparent and including the teams, drivers, and everything that they do, and just take care of everybody the way that they have been. I don't see why it's not going to be the most successful series in the country, and they're going to continue to hold their guys and keep them in play. So I've been really happy with them so far, and just enjoying it every step of the way.
I know as a fan, I'm a sprint car guy. I love the Outlaws. I love High Limit. I love it all. But if I had my choice, I'd watch a High Limit show. I prefer the High Limit format personally as a fan, way more
Yeah.
than Outlaw format. To me, it feels like the Outlaw guys, they get out front, and 9 times out of 10, whoever starts on the front row is going to win. It's how I feel. And
Yeah.
the All Star, or I'm sorry,
Yeah,
the High Limit, so much better in my opinion, just because you start fourth in the heat if you're the fast qualifier,
Yeah.
and you've got to go. You just got to go all the time.
yeah. Yeah, and they're working on different ways to even making it better yet. I just think that we've just been stuck in our way for so long. It seems to be like this is the way it has to be, but what worked 30 years ago or 20 years ago, and doesn't mean it's necessarily great today. And you just always have to evolve. Everybody changes. Everybody's yeah, especially as a lifelong fan, you kind of get stale watching the same thing over and over again, especially for how much racing there is. So you got to keep it fresh and keep it new. And, you also want new fans to come and stay engaged and show up to the races or tune in. You always want that. So you need to come up with different ways to keep it fresh. And I think, doing what they're doing is good, but I also think there's still room for improvement in the format, and I know there's been some discussions about that, and I'm hoping that they follow through and make those adjustments at some point this year, just to try it and see how it works. And that's what's great about this series too, is they have these ideas and they get everybody on board, and it's just like, hey, let's try it, see if it works. We don't have to worry about being stuck in our ways or anything like that. It's just, this is the future. It's something new. Let's just give it a whirl and see what people think. And and I've liked some of the things I've heard so far. So, and I think people actually really enjoy it. So I just always been the type of person where, I think you should earn your spots. I don't think anything should be based off of pill draw or so on and so forth. I've been a part of events that are just nothing but passing points, and every position you earn, all the points you gain throughout the night, you earn that spot, and that's where you deserve to start. But I can also understand how confusing that can be for somebody to watch and understand too. So, there's a fine line with all that stuff to make sure everybody does understand it, but also keep everybody excited about it. But you also have, if you don't understand it, you're not going to be excited about it. So there's just so many different ways to try to make it work. But we'll see. I just like that they're trying different things just to make the fan engagement more. And I've been hearing that from multiple people that they more inclined to tune into a high limit race over a World of Outlaw race just because it's different, and that's the thing, it's different. So if they keep it up with that, I think the growth is just going to be extraordinary. And then it already has been in, a year. So I think they are well past where they expected to be. And it continues to be like that every week. So, yeah, and like I said, I'm happy with it. I'm happy to be a part of it, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what the future holds with High Limit.
And I would say, from a fan's perspective, we've gotten the most bang for the buck. These races have been so competitive with the top guys, and we love to see that battle back and forth. And we're looking forward to seeing more of it this weekend at Tri-City Speedway, Saturday, May 10th. The high limit sprints, 410s, 12,000 to win. Brent Marks, Dirty Right Rear Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us today, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's great being on with you. I know I said this before we started, but I really do love that studio. It's really cool looking. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if you're ever in the area, you can stop by.
Yeah, of course.
Open anytime. Thanks so much, man. We'll catch you this weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brent. Good luck.
Thank you.